it's not even just about Joe Rogan. It's more about this ecosystem that he's created around him and the way that right-wing politicians interact with that ecosystem. So I'm sure most of the dudes in this room my age know that this Joe Rogan universe is like inescapable. There's Theo Vaughn, and Jordan Peterson goes on Theo Vaughn, then goes on Joe Rogan. And I always say, like, if Pete Buttigieg went on Joe Rogan's podcast 3 times, he could probably undo a lot of the harm Charlie Kirk has caused among young men just by going out there. And Pete Buttigieg, I love his philosophy about going into these spaces. I think Democrats, it's a broader issue here, but Democrats need to be interacting with these spaces. We need to be building out these voices, and that's why I love what you guys are doing. But yeah, again, the Joe Rogan question just misses the point, as someone said, because it's more about the people surrounding him, the people that he boosts up, and then the way that somebody who's just casually interested in health or like working out then is in the RFK Jr. feed, and then it's just a really brutal pipeline with the algorithm, yeah.
I don't think that we needed Joe Rogan himself as much as you just mentioned Charlie Kirk. I think we need a Turning Point USA.
Yeah, without the Nazis.
Without the Nazis would be best. Yeah, that would be best.
That's a good one. Yeah, the same thing with Turning Point USA. That's the perfect example because they're doing an America Fest thing this month.
Let's take a beat.
Okay. Yeah.
Who wants to explain Turning Point USA for those who don't know? Does anyone not know what Turning Point USA is in the room? Okay, there's a couple. So let's.
For that dude back there, Turning Point USA is basically like this. It's an organization that was founded by Charlie Kirk. You know who that is. He founded it. Okay, so he's this right-wing dude. When he was like 20 years old, he founded this organization where he went to different college campuses. He tried to register people to vote. They eventually got more and more funding, and I hope I'm explaining this well, but they eventually got more and more funding, and they built this apparatus where there are like thousands of college campuses across the country. Have you ever seen those change my mind things where like someone will be sitting at a college campus arguing with the students? That's Charlie Kirk doing that. Those clips go viral. I have friends that know nothing about politics, and they're like, did this person on the college campus actually say this? And I'm like, yeah. So Turning Point USA has created this massive media apparatus. And to loop it back, they're doing something this month called the America Fest. It's in Arizona, I think. And it's like all the worst people you know. You see Vivek Ramaswamy, RFK Jr., some washed up actors from the 90s, some health and wellness people. But then it attracts a bunch of different demographics. And then that's how you build a successful ecosystem, I feel like.
And that is what you are trying to build, Josh, with your work.
Well, I think the biggest piece here is we need to support the voices that are replacing what's left of mainstream media, and we need to do it constantly. So when we talk about what we need to build, what we need to build is something that lasts not from one cycle to the next cycle, but we should be talking about 10, 20, 30, 40 years down into the future. There's a full collapse of what used to be like this publisher-driven space, right? Like the Washington Post is 2 blocks away. Mm-hmm. They don't have a business model anymore. I'd argue every creator we work with has figured out small things that if you put them together, actually have a lot of self-sustainability to them, and we just need to share those resources and that knowledge. So a lot of what Course has done so far is just conversations creator to creator about, hey, how are you scaling so fast here? Or how did you figure out this one piece? Some creators have had the blessing to have the resources to invest in like a person or 2. Like imagine if we actually provided them the resources to do this right. So this is not about any org, I think, here trying to create something and be like, we're gonna build our own Fox News, we're gonna build our own Turning Point. What we really need is just to like distribute the money out to the voices who are actually doing the work and talking to the people. I mean, Adam was talking before about just like what he wants to do next year. He has a very full vision. He knows what works. He sees all the analytics on his content. I'm not going to tell them anything you told me, but like those are the things that we need to sort of double down on. And it's really a trust thing. Trust that these voices are breaking through. We also have data, but you got to trust and like let it happen. We analyze and analyze and analyze, and we miss the whole thing going past us. So I think that's what we really want to change.
I also want to say just really quickly, you said it goes back decades. You could probably trace it to like Rush Limbaugh and his radio show just exploding. He gets a lot of funding and then that evolves. But I also want to say, if you're thinking about creating content, please don't wait to get funding, because when I think of digital media, there's this concept in software programming where you want to turn your bugs into features. So with digital media, yes, we don't have the funding that Tim Pool has or that CNN has, but that gives us the opportunity to create this lean, mean business model where essentially we're not beholden to any interests, we're not beholden to anybody but our audience. So some of these bugs with funding, yes, we do need funding, but don't let that stop you. You can flip that into a feature where you're actually able to take advantage of that and scale a really tight model. MeidasTouch, for example, doesn't have that many employees, but we pull more views on YouTube than CNN and Fox News on a monthly basis.
Well, I want to pivot to platforms. So, Adam, you have a large following. You have over 1 million across all platforms. So you have over 700,000 on YouTube alone, which is very large. Congratulations. Seriously, it's hard. It's hard to get those 700,000. And some of the autopsy reports we're seeing, we have a pretty clear image that we did okay on TikTok. Like our message was heard, but we did horrifically bad on other platforms such as YouTube. So as we look to growing this media ecosystem, where should the left be doubling down on and or investing more in? And this is a twofold question. I want everyone's feedback on especially the second part. What are your thoughts on Blue Sky?
So yeah, really quickly, again, just to bring it back, it's not even about targeting a specific platform. I mean, Russia did target Twitter, and I guess that worked really well, but like, it's not even, it's about broadly just creating the ecosystem. Again, having these voices interacting with each other. And someone said on the left that like they have to beg any Democratic politicians to come on their YouTube channel, even though they have like 2 million subscribers. Meanwhile, you turn on Tim Pool's, I don't know why I keep using Tim Pool as an example, but you turn on his show, and he's always got some like wacky right-wing figure. And when it comes to Blue Sky, I think there's potential, but if I'm gonna be 100% honest, I do see some scary signs with purity testing on there. I think we need to drop some of the purity testing. And when I go on Blue Sky and I see Mark Cuban saying like the most innocuous thing, and someone's like, "Go back to Twitter, Mark Cuban," I'm like, you guys need to chill.
I think that things like Blue Sky are important because there's a reason that Elon bought Twitter. And it was because it was a town square. It was because it was a place that we could seek out experts in fields like immunology or science or journalists, and we could curate a feed that allowed us to know what the truth was. It was a place to build a resistance. It was a place to build community. And he did that. He bought it and destroyed it on purpose, so we would have nowhere to go and nowhere to unite. So I think having places like Blue Sky, even Threads, as a place where people can come together and connect and organize and plan and push back against propaganda is essential. So if that's going to be Blue Sky, then it's Blue Sky until they ruin it with, a for-profit model. But I do think it's really important that creators keep doing the work that is authentic, because that's where, I think that's the future. I think people can tell now when people are doing it for clicks and hits, and they can tell when you're being authentic with your work.
Yeah.
And when you talk about pushing back on propaganda, I think we can distill a lot of this down to just the pure volume that the right wing has right now when it comes to propaganda. You open X, it's like 9 out of every 10 tweets in my feed, even if I'm not following right wingers. The volume is just absolutely insane. And I think the volume will follow if we get like likable faces, we get the funding, we get everything we need in place. But it feels like we're fighting an uphill battle. Elon Musk will send out some absolutely BS tweet and it'll have like 90 million views or whatever. And then the response that's correcting him has like 14,000 views. And you're like, this is not sustainable. We need a way to, and then on top of that, of course, Russia is incentivized to boost all of this information, all these algorithms. So YouTube is the future, absolutely, but it's also about the volume across all platforms.